Hi, I'm Nina, and today I'm with.
Elijah Hamilton Ray.
So, for today, I want to be asking you a few questions about yourself, and I want you to introduce yourself to us.
Okay. Yeah, my name is Elijah. I'm an artist from Michigan, originally from East Lansing, Michigan. Um, and I am a pretty traditional artist. I work with acrylic and oil paints, mostly on canvas. So yeah, that's my artistry for the most part.
So, tell me more about yourself, about your art. How did it all start?
It really started from like a really early age. I was always interested in comic books and anime, and that kind of like fantastical uh, storytelling started to like inform what I do now, but what I did from early days. So I was like drawing people, drawing like people in action, and it eventually evolved into what I do now, which is more of like a figurative, surrealist uh, kind of realism that I paint with. Yeah.
So, how has your art improved since then? What are some areas you think you can still improve in?
Um, I think technically, just from practice, of course, I've gotten better there. Just like being able to represent what I want to from like a thought or a feeling. But uh, mainly, and this is something that I'm still improving at, is the kind of uh, like what I'm trying to tell with my art and the concept. So like conceptually, I'm always pushing forward and like trying to dig deeper into what my art really means and uh, trying to tell something like true to me with my art. Yeah.
What keeps you going? What keeps you motivated?
Uh, I guess just my love for it. Um, every time I'm doing art, every time I have like a new idea, I get really excited about it. You know, with an art piece, a lot of times you start off and it's like this really exciting rush of energy, and you get into it, and you get halfway through it, and it's like a slog, and then you push through that, and on the other side of it, it's like relief and excitement that you got your idea across. So that's one of the most exciting things to me about doing art.
Could you describe your process, like from the idea to the execution to the final product?
Yeah. So what I usually start with is just like an idea that'll pop into my head, and I'll draw it out in a sketchbook. I'll write down words associated with what I think I want to tell with the piece, um, and and then I will, because I usually work on canvas, so I'll uh, I'll gesso an ungessoed canvas. I'll like stretch it onto a wall and put the gesso over it, which is like the first layer, which is what like the white canvas is a gessoed canvas. So I'll do that and then kind of sketch out my idea like loosely on the canvas, and after that, just kind of dig into it. I usually know how I want my art piece to end up, uh, like in my head at the end, but there is a sort of like discovery when I do something throughout the process. And I tend to work in series of paintings, so it's an idea that'll like span over multiple paintings, and sometimes I'll have an idea for a series in my head, and after doing the first painting, uh, it'll like spark new ideas. So I would say like for when I'm doing a series of paintings, the idea always changes, and like the next two or three paintings will take me somewhere completely different where I didn't think I'd be going.
So, who would you say is your biggest inspiration, your idol?
Uh, so my love of comic books spans like way back. So there's this incredible comic book artist named Alex Ross, and he does these comic book characters, but it's like with the touch of an old master. So it'll be these like realistic kind of like comic book heroes, and it'll be like these really deep shadows, uh, and it'll it makes the characters look important, as if they're like something to be revered. Another idol of mine is Kerry James Marshall, incredible artist um, out of Chicago, and he just does these incredible like figurative pieces where he does these he paints like figures with like very very black skin, and a part of his philosophy is like he wants to make sure that the blackness in the people that he paints is like front and center, and that it like breaks through into the mainstream of the art world without compromising anything of his own artistry. So I really really love his work.
What does it mean for you to be here today and share your work with the community?
So Kalamazoo, I guess I would say is my second home. I really love it here. I went to college in Kalamazoo, and I always love coming back and sharing art with the community, especially the Black Arts and Cultural Center. They always rep for local artists, and I just love being a part of such like a vibrant day. Like the DJ, the music is so lively and everything. So I love just being part of the energy that's here. Yeah.
What's that one thing that fulfills you inside that makes you feel happy?
I guess other than doing art, honestly just my family and my friends. I think like anytime I think about happiness, it's always related back to memories and just like quality time spent with family and friends. So yeah, that's usually what it is.
What's that one piece of advice that you've been given that has stuck with you over the years?
Oh, one piece of advice. Man, I guess that everything happens for a reason. uh, and that could be with anything. But yeah, I don't know. I think that just when you're sent down a path and you think it may be the wrong thing, I feel like later on down the line, you find like the silver in the gray area. So it's always nice.
What are some next steps you'll be taking in the future?
Ooh, I want to continue painting and try to apply for art residencies and fellowships, just so I can like dig deeper into my craft and what I'm doing.
And lastly, what is an advice you would give to young artists right now?
I would say practice, practice, practice. Because art is really for art is for everyone, and anyone can do art, and it's such like a great activity. I think if you want to take it on as like a career, then you have to treat it as a job. And it's like you gotta dig deep when you don't feel like doing your work. You sometimes just gotta do it. So yeah, that's my advice.
Thank you so much for coming on here and taking the time to talk with us about your inspirations and your motivations and about your art. We really appreciate you taking the time.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
You're watching Public Media Network.